And it's time to make a move.
Jamaica, let's get moving again. Season 2 of the Ministry of Health and Wellness Jamaica Move series is here. Join us Wednesdays at 5 a.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on CVM TV. Let's get moving.
Make a move now.
Small business owners and independent contractors get affordable insurance with Sagicor Pro Shield. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock. Tonight in CVM News at 7, mass shooting rocks Mandeville, leaving 2 dead and 5 injured. Security forces partner to up the ante on gangs, and Finance Minister urges continued patience on SSL fraud probe. In the business report, we have the very latest in the markets. And in sports, West Indies women went down by 10 wickets in the T20 World Cup opening game against South Africa. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I am Curlin Brown. It's Friday, October 4, 2024. Investigations are underway into a brazen daylight shooting in Mandeville, Manchester, that left 2 people dead and 5 others hospitalized. The latest mass shooting has sent shockwaves throughout sections of the business district as locals come to terms with a daring attack. With more details, here's CVM's Nika Lewis.
A bloody start to the weekend as criminals warm to the idea of mass shootings wreaking havoc on civilians in Mandeville, Manchester Friday morning. In the aftermath, sometime after 10, bodies were strewn across Manchester Road, 2 confirmed dead, 5 hospitalized. The dead, a male and a female whose names have not yet been released. The few locals who spoke to our news team say these are dark times. The mayor, Donovan Mitchell, was ironically leading a peace march when the incident unfolded.
The shooting took place at the entrance of the market to the southern side. 7 persons got shot, 2 fatally. A young man and a young woman, one from South Manchester. The other one is from my division, the young man. As I speak now, I am at the hospital. I went to speak to the doctors. Actually, 2 are seen and sent home. 2 are now gone to do some diagnostic tests, and 1 is now still here doing some. The doctors are looking after him.
Mayor Mitchell, while expressing condolences and committing support to the affected families, urges anyone with information to come forward.
The young lady was just in the market doing her own business. One of the gentlemen was across the road in a syrup shop buying something else, and so it could have been any one of us. So let us be careful, speak what we know. We don't have to be an informer, as some people would put it. But the best thing to do is to try to avoid all of these by just speaking what we know so the police investigations can go forward.
Meanwhile, one onlooker and coincidentally a street minister is urging Jamaicans to prepare for death and accept Jesus.
We're only about the physical. We have to try acknowledge the spiritual. And while we are go about with necessary business, yes, we have to work, we have to seek things and have a vehicle, have a car, have whatever, husband, wife have female have husband and husband have wife. Them they are natural things. But choose covetousness and the devil manipulate we. And it make it a cause the greed sometime. And people no want to work. That is a factor. Me not lick out. Most man no want to work.
It was only days ago that another man says he witnessed to one of the victims, the male, about giving his life to God.
We need to
put things together and make sure that you try to serve God again, because that's the only way out. And, just come up here to hear this morning kind of surprising to me. But it is what life is all about. We can't just go around and think that outside of God everything is normal. We are living in an abnormal time now, and we need to, like I said earlier, think about how we live, what we do.
On the other hand, the Constabulary's Communications Network, CCN, told CVM News while they are aware of the incident, they are unable to provide any formal reports at this time or confirm the victims' names. Nika Lewis, CVM News.
In the parish of Hanover, several business owners were left grieving Friday morning after waking up to the news 25 shops were destroyed in a blaze at the Lucea market. The incident has left Mayor Sheridan Samuels calling on the government for recovery aid. Here's Courtney Lewis with that report.
Hanover's Mayor Sheridan Samuels is calling on the government to assist with the rebuilding of the Lucea market following a massive fire that destroyed over 25 shops Friday morning. It is understood that at around 4 a.m., locals saw the blaze and alerted the Lucea Fire Brigade, who later responded. While some vendors managed to save their goods and property, other shopkeepers lament that they have lost their livelihood. The mayor expressed disappointment in the National Water Commission, the NWC, noting that there was limited water available to put out the fire. However, he is calling on the government to assist with the recovery process.
We are hoping that we are not treated as a stepchild, and the government will come in, the local government minister will come in, and whatever other ministries will come in to assist us down here. We are also calling on the Member of Parliament, who we know that have the necessary resources to deal with certain matters.
Samuels pointed to a delay in receiving care packages in the parish post-Hurricane Beryl, noting that he hopes this won't be the case for the restoration of the marketing facility. However, Member of Parliament for Hanover Western, Tamika Davis, is sympathizing with the victims and has committed to providing assistance.
As it relates to the vendors here, the shop owners here, they can be assured of our commitment from the government side. I spoke to Minister Desmond McKenzie, and he too is awaiting the full assessment of the damage so we can proceed from there.
She says while the shopkeepers are saddened by the incident, she is grateful no lives were lost, noting people sometimes asleep in the shops. In the meantime, firefighter Ricardo Anderson, who was on duty during the fire, was electrocuted. Assistant Superintendent for the Lucea Fire Brigade, Tamara McLaren Snow, has confirmed the incident and shared that he was transported to the Noel Holmes Hospital where he was treated and released.
When he was in this operation, he observed that he was feeling electricity through his gloves. So he threw the gloves and threw the branch that he was holding. So he let it go and made the officer aware that what was happening, and they took him to the hospital.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, is urging Jamaicans to be patient as investigations continue into the multi-billion-dollar fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, which has left more than 200 accounts compromised, including that of Sprint legend Usain Bolt. Ramon Gordon has our update on the progress made so far and the government's response to calls for greater transparency.
It's been over a year since the massive SSL fraud came to light, rocking the nation and leaving many, including 8-time Olympic icon Usain Bolt, frustrated by the lack of answers. In a recent report preceding the saga, Bolt is quoted as being frustrated and disappointed by the country he, quote, put on the map. The government's response to the Bolt saga has drawn sharp criticism locally and overseas, with at least one business owner worried about the signal the response sends to international investors. But in a statement responding to public concerns, Dr. Clark insists that investigators are working diligently and the process is moving forward. In September 2023, the Financial Investigations Division announced that the scope of the investigation had widened to over 200 accounts, up from the 40 initially reported in January. The estimated value of the fraud also ballooned to a staggering $4.7 billion. Bolt's holding company Welgen invested US $6.2 million at SSL. The total loss is now pegged at US $12.7 million. His attorney Linton Gordon says the lack of updates on the investigation is aggravating. In December, the FID submitted a voluminous file to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP, for ruling, and Clark says the parties are working closely to ensure a thorough review. The case has seen former SSL client relationship manager Jinan Panton charged with forgery, larceny, among other crimes. But the public and Bolt are still waiting to see more accountability. As Jamaicans wait for a resolution, Clark maintains the government's efforts, backed by international expertise, will ultimately hold those responsible to account. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Bee farmers devastated by Hurricane Beryl in July are set to receive critical support from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. The government has announced a $5 million recovery fund to help the beekeepers, with additional steps to strengthen the industry. We go again to Ramon Gordon for that report.
Help is on the way for nearly 200 beekeepers who were left struggling after Hurricane Beryl destroyed millions of dollars worth of honey colonies and equipment. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says a $5 million support package has been approved, providing essential inputs like sugar to sustain bee colonies during the off-season and help restore operations. That comes as a welcomed move for Dennis Mackey-Conscious McKay, chairman of the St. James Bee Farmers Association, who had previously called for government intervention on that very matter.
Let's say the honey production season is from January to, let's say, 6 months. Beyond that, we have a period called dirt period like now, when many trees don't blossom. Our issue right now is how do we get at least sugar at a price that we can be feeding back the bees at that time. We are willing to buy, but we hardly can't get it.
The fallout from Hurricane Beryl has been severe. Nearly 200 bee farmers across Clarendon, St. James, St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth and Manchester losing hundreds of colonies. One farmer alone lost 25, which could take years to rebuild. The devastation has not only disrupted bee production, but also stalled efforts to meet local and export market demands.
So for Jamaican markets, we have not yet fully satisfied the local demand. We are still trying to satisfy some of the export markets, but we have not been able to do both at the same time.
But the struggle doesn't end there. Reports are some farmers are hoarding their remaining honey supply in hopes of fetching higher prices during the lucrative Christmas season. Facing these challenges, the government is rolling out a national cost production tool to help bee farmers to get a clear picture of their expenses and profitability. The tool, announced in St. James recently, will provide critical data to help farmers better manage their businesses. The beekeeping industry has grown significantly over the last 30 years, now boasting over 100,000 colonies, an increase from just 3,000 colonies a few decades ago. However, climate change could potentially reverse these gains.
And we suffered somewhere in the region of about $34 million in losses, and that affected nearly 200 beekeepers. The beekeepers are now trying to put back the pieces, and with that, the ministry has intervened and will be doing some things to assist some of these beekeepers.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
And CVM News at 7 will continue in a moment.
Father, what you doing again?
Writing the opera Isaiah. Jamaican opera, master.
Jamaican opera?
Yes. It's about the greatest of prophets.
When is it going to be?
5th and 6th of October.
One
weekend only.
Where can I get my ticket?
You have to check social media, master.
Social media?
Social media.
What, Father, you got high-tech, man?
Yeah, man.
Isaiah, October 5 and 6 at the National Arena. 1 weekend only. Don't you miss it.
Make a move now. Make a move now.
Hi everyone, my name is Kurt Dunn.
Greetings from Kali's Kelly Yoga.
Hey, it's Robin Morrison, and I am your National Physical Activity Specialist. And it's time to make a move.
Jamaica, let's get moving again. Season 2 of the Ministry of Health and Wellness Jamaica Move series is here. Join us Wednesdays at 5 a.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on CVM TV. Let's get moving.
Make a move now.
Fan Central Pitside, brought to you by Edgechem, AIM Financial Corporation, Texaco, and Connex.
Thanks so much for staying with us. At least one agency is requesting clarity from the government after it signed an international agreement to protect the marine environment in support of deep-sea mining, which counters the government's vow to care for marine life. The agency says it's confused with the government's objective, with contradictory acts now out in the open. Our reporter is Stitchie Kelly.
Deep-sea mining is popularly used for the extraction of minerals from the seabed. However, it is notorious for the severe impact it can have on the environment. For this reason, the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, has been advocating for the government to pull its support from such actions. And JET was a little relieved when it learned of the government's latest decision to sign the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction BBNJ agreement. This agreement is for the conservation and preservation of marine life in high seas to prevent devastating impacts on the ocean, socio-economic well-being, and food security. But these are all areas that deep-sea mining can impact. Though the agency may not get exactly what it wants, CEO Dr. Theresa Rodriguez Moody says they are willing to settle.
Ideally, we'd like the government to not support deep-sea mining. But in the interim,
they have to.
We're asking them to at least consider a moratorium, right? Because you need to be focused on the BBNJ agreement, which you've just signed, so which says let's protect the ecosystem, the high seas, this important area for the global common.
A moratorium is the temporary prohibition of an activity. Should the government cease its support of deep-sea mining, there will be no need for a moratorium. However, since the government is already supporting the act, there are rules and regulations to which it must adhere.
If you're a sponsoring state, you have to have effective regulations. You have to have a regulatory body. And remember, this is not happening in Jamaican waters. It's happening in international waters.
Yes.
Very far from Jamaica. So in order to manage that and monitor that, Jamaica has to have a lot of this set up, which we don't.
But the government's support of the act is one issue. The other is the fact that the country recently signed the BBNJ, which aims to protect the environment, specifically the sea. So was the government clear on its decision to sign this agreement? Dr. Moody explains her agency's attempts to gain more clarity from the government have proven futile.
We've been learning through our Access to Information Act that requests that there's a lot of things that we will not get access to because we've been told it's confidential. We've also been advised that there was no cost-benefits analysis done to inform their decision as to why to be a sponsoring state. What? And there's no law.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is responsible for such activities. However, we were informed a comment would be best suited when the minister returns. Stitchie Kelly, CVM News.
At the 76th session of the Regional Committee of the World Health Organization for the Americas, plans and strategies have been highlighted to address the growing use of e-cigarettes and hookahs, particularly among the young. Adrian Williams shares the concerns as well as measures discussed at the regional meeting in Washington, D.C.
There's growing concern about the rise of e-cigarettes and vaping among children, adolescents, and young adults, along with the general use of cannabis and the growing popularity of hookah bars. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton divulged the details from the discussions being had around this matter in the Latin Americas.
It is becoming almost an epidemic in the Americas, where school children are now accessing these gadgets, these devices, some of them very nicely camouflaged as pens and pencils and other school devices, and are using these within the school environment or externally. The truth is, what it is doing, it is developing these habits, bad habits, and it's detrimental not just to the child in terms of their physical being, but also in terms of their mental and emotional being over time.
The efforts, he says, are set out to debunk the myths surrounding the use of e-cigarettes and hookahs, that they are much safer alternatives to traditional smoking.
We have discussed that here, looked at some strategies that we're going to have to implement. Included in that is public education, not just to the youngster, but to the parents, to the guardians, to the schools. And you'll hear more about that over time. So a big discussion point here is continuing the thrust around controlling and hopefully eliminating over time tobacco consumption, including the new wave devices, e-cigarettes, that are a big contributor now and are replacing the traditional approach to smoking.
Legislation has been put in place to enforce tobacco control. However, he highlights the slow process in actually actioning the policy.
The challenge, of course, looking ahead, is not just around the legislation, it's around enforcement of the legislation. So smoke-free zones, for example, is something that is in place already, but the truth is the enforcement sometimes is not as it ought to be. And there are methods and strategies that are being discussed for that.
Jamaica is putting forward legislation which will include the regulation of the interactions of government officials with the tobacco industry, testing and measurement of the contents and emissions of tobacco products, promotion of communication and public awareness of tobacco control issues and the health risks of tobacco consumption and exposure to tobacco smoke, in addition to full and mandatory prohibition on tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, including a ban on point-of-sale tobacco displays, and increase the size of the graphic health warning from 60 to 80% of the principal display areas of tobacco products. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
And still on health concerns, persons visiting hospitals for treatment could at varying points find themselves becoming infected. It's a challenge the Ministry of Health is aiming to mitigate. As Adrian Williams continues, the Health Minister welcomes PAHO's initiative to help reduce the risk.
Jamaica is commending the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, on the development of a strategy and plan of action to aid in decreasing the burden of sepsis over the period 2025 to 2029 using an integrated approach. Sepsis is a condition resulting from the presence of harmful microorganisms which potentially lead to organ failure, shock, or death. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, shares the plan as concerns grow.
You will recall that from time to time we have infections in our hospitals. We had one in Victoria Jubilee Hospital where our neonates, our vulnerable babies, had an outbreak of infection. We have it on a fairly regular basis in other parts of the hospital, including the older population. So normally vulnerable populations are affected more by this particular condition.
He highlights that there are a number of challenges that cause septic conditions to be higher than they ought to be.
It involves a number of things. It involves issues around how we manage cleaning of our facilities. It involves issues around vaccination to improve the chances of resistance from infections.
A big challenge for our local healthcare system is below satisfactory ratios of specialist nurses to vulnerable patients.
So the ratio of the vulnerable patient to the nurse oftentimes is more higher than what it ought to be. And therefore, part of that is our human resource challenge. But in the absence of having more people, we have to also be extra cautious in managing the environment in which we have these vulnerable patients.
Statistics from the Global Sepsis Alliance in 2020 indicates 1 in every 5 deaths worldwide are sepsis-related. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
In a show of solidarity within the music fraternity, renowned entertainer Rodney Bounty Killer Price and Shaggy joined forces to extend support to gospel dancehall entertainer Lieutenant Stitchie. Stitchie, who has been hospitalized in recent times, is now on the rebound. With more on the kind gesture, here's Britannia Whittle.
From leading the dancehall scene to walking away from it, becoming a Christian in 1997, Cleve Leng, aka Lieutenant Stitchie, is no stranger to the spotlight. But recently, the veteran DJ made the news for the wrong reasons after rumors of his death surfaced across social media. However, the rumors were soon after dispelled by his wife, Sophia. She later revealed that the artist suffered a severe brain hemorrhage that left him unresponsive. Ling launched a GoFundMe campaign to help fund her husband's treatment in a long-term care facility. The Bounty Foundation, founded by iconic dancehall entertainer Bounty Killer, partnered with renowned musician Shaggy to donate $10,000 to help the Wear Your Size singer. Surrounded by supporters and other musicians, Bounty cautioned persons from using Stitchie's achievements as a deterrent from donating. He says things are not the same once an artist switches to gospel music.
When you used to earn 100, going into gospel is like earning 15 or 20% of where you used to earn. I like tithes you get now. But you're doing it for the Lord. He did not choose, hold on, if he did think about income, he would have stayed as a big artist. God called him and he have to leave everything behind.
He urged those inside the music industry to lend a helping hand.
And I'm pleading to the music industry insiders more than the general public, because this is a problem with the music industry. We don't come together for each other, and that's very saddening to me. So we as artists, we know the difference when you become a Christian with earnings. So we could never look on a man who changed his life 27 years ago and say him make what kind of money. And it doesn't matter.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Leng expressed her gratitude for the donation.
So I just want to, express again gratitude to the Bounty Foundation for this generous contribution on behalf of Stitchie.
She says the support has been overwhelming.
The support is phenomenal right across the globe. As far as Africa, I'm getting calls. And I mean, there's not one day that passes that I don't get a call from somebody to say, okay, how can we donate, or what we can do is just to offer a word of prayer. I get calls every single day, persons praying with us and just encouraging us, because they say, Sophia, I know it's hard with it, which is, it is. Hard is not even the word right now, but we're leaning on God and trusting Him to take us through this.
So far, the gospel dancehall entertainer has received over $12,000 of a targeted $100,000. Britannia Whittle, CVM News.
And we continue to wish for him all the best. We'll take another break. We'll be back in a moment.
Get ready for a schoolboy football doubleheader. First up, Dunoon Technical will square off with Eltham High at 1:15 p.m. Then, three-time Manning Cup winners Calabar battle St. Andrew Technical at 3:30 p.m. Manning Cup doubleheader this Saturday. See it happen on CVM TV.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Rise and shine and start your day with the Wealthy Club's Power Hour. It's a transformative mind-body workout infused with strength training, yoga, meditation, and journaling. Every Wednesday from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Starting September 11th, join us for free, live in person right here at the marketplace in front of Camila's Kitchen, or you can join in from anywhere in the world thanks to our friends over at Just Create. And afterwards, refuel with your post-workout breakfast from Camila's Kitchen to truly support your wellness and your fitness goals. Catch us for this special workout hour on CVM TV on Mondays from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. and a repeat at 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. WellFit Wednesdays starting September 11th at 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. right here at the marketplace. See you there.
Brought to you by Tetley.
We a big deal when we touch the ground. Yeah, a KFC when we pulling up.
Anything for the taste of a KFC, big deal. The time by KFC is...
This is CVM News at 7. Welcome back. We're at the point where we check out what's happening on social media.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? A daylight shooting in Mandeville, Manchester has left a trail of violence with 6 individuals shot, including 2 who lost their lives. The names of the deceased male and female are currently unknown. Here are some of your comments. At Will Ryan Wilson writes, "So this is now a thing in my country? We must condemn this by calling names of the people responsible." At K_Jamaican Girl shares, "What? My Manchester? This is crazy." At J_Extra asks, "Why Manchester and Westmoreland are run so hot?" At 2cute_Vanny comments, "Everything the Americans do, the Jamaicans follow." At Anne-Marie says, "The criminals realize that they can do as they please with little or no consequence." At Miash posts, "Jamaica is always so adaptive to the wrong things." And at Cav Francis adds, "Mass shootings have become a norm in Jamaica now. Lord have mercy." And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Courtney Lewis.
And we go to regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. Antigua and Barbuda on Thursday inaugurated the Burton Nibbs International Airport, the second in the Caribbean nation. The inauguration was marked with the arrival of the first commercial flight and represents a significant milestone for the Caribbean nation's government, headed by Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and the aviation industry within the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Here's Telesur English.
The new airport promises to significantly enhance flight traffic between Antigua and its sister island Barbuda, paving the way for improved connectivity and economic growth, reinforcing the country's vision of one nation, 2 islands, 2 gateways.
Hackers have breached the Barbados Revenue Authority's vehicle registration online portal, resulting in the personal information of some Barbadians being placed online for sale. Details from the CBC.
The Barbados Revenue Authority is aware that there is some vehicle registration application information circulating on the internet and social media, and we are actively investigating the incident. The security and privacy of our stakeholders is of the utmost importance to us. The confidence and trust that individuals and businesses have in the authority are the cornerstones of our systems. So we are currently working with our partners and law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation to determine the nature and scope of the reported incident. As the investigation continues, we have to be mindful not to share information about the specific nature of the incident or of the security measures taken to address them, so as not to jeopardize the work of the investigators.
In international news, more airstrikes have been reported in southern Beirut and Lebanon, as Israel told more than 30 villages in the south to evacuate. More from the BBC's verification desk.
Videos have emerged which show damage following a strike near the Lebanon-Syria border crossing. You can see here the damage spans the width of the road, rendering it impassable for vehicles. Now, this is a key route between Beirut and Damascus. Here's what it looks like on Google Earth, zooming in right down into that ravine almost to the level of the road. Over here is a screenshot from the video we verified at the scene. You can see the same ravine. What helped us verify this footage was by comparing it to a YouTube video which was posted in 2022 and filmed by a motorcyclist using that road. See? You can see the same pylons, rock formations, trees, absolutely the same as the footage of the damage. Now, a note of caution here, a very similar spot on this road was struck in 2006.